In this review, it's never been a better time to buy a 4K HDR TV for gaming, as new 2021 TVs have arrived in many parts of the world and next-gen games consoles like the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X are selling in their millions, although demand remains much higher than supply. In the TV space, 4K HDR has become standard on even the cheapest sets, and technologies like 120Hz refresh rates, adaptive sync and auto low latency modes have made playing games on a TV better than ever before. What follows are our recommendations for the best gaming TVs in 2021. When considering a 4K TV for HDR gaming, one of the most important metrics is input latency, which measures how long it takes for your button's presses to translate into in-game actions. The best 4K HDR TVs offer input latency of around 12 milliseconds or less, average models around 20 milliseconds, and slower screens react in 30 milliseconds or more. Generally, a difference of about 15 milliseconds between two screens is noticeable. However, you'll only accomplish these speeds by engaging gaming modes, which go by different names on different televisions. Auto Low Latency Mode, which we mentioned earlier, automatically activates this mode when it's needed. Please check the product link below the description. Please subscribe to our channel for more updates. Number 1. LG C1CX OLED. The best 4K TVs for HDR gaming are the LG C1 and CX OLEDs. The two are incredibly similar in terms of their core specs and features, with the CX offering better value for money, and the C1 offering a few incremental upgrades to the likes of input lag, gradients and motion handling. Both TVs support 120Hz black frame insertion, boosting the clarity of fast-moving objects. Variable refresh rate support includes AMD's FreeSync in addition to NVIDIA's G-Sync compatible and HDMI VRR, so you can expect smooth motion from 40Hz to 120Hz without tearing, judder, or excessive input lag on both PC and consoles. Elsewhere, the C1 and CX possess all the qualities we expect from a high-end LG OLED, including gorgeous color reproduction, good brightness, perfect blacks and superior motion clarity, making for a convincing experience in HDR games and movies. There are also 4 HDMI 2.1 ports, allowing for 4K 120 frames per second gaming using a single cable on the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and next-gen PC graphics cards. While we recommend OLED if you're considering a high-end TV, Samsung's QLED sets have their own strengths, including the ability to hit higher peak brightness figures and immunity to burn-in. 4K HDR content is where the C1 and CX sing, but the television also handles lower resolution content with aplomb thanks to excellent upscaling and full OSSC and FrameMeister compatibility for retro gaming. LG's WebOS software is also arguably the best available, thanks to a responsive interface that includes easy Wiimote style selection and rapid multitasking. This changed slightly from the CX to the C1, but ease of use remains excellent on both sets. Number 2. Sony A90J 55-inch TV. The Sony A90J is a very interesting proposition, an extremely expensive OLED that combines one of LG's new second-generation panels with Sony's excellent motion handling algorithms. The result is a TV that looks gorgeous in motion, with noticeably higher peak brightness than other OLEDs on the market, but there are downsides beyond the significantly higher price. Elsewhere, Sony has gotten a lot right. Motion handling is superb, as usual, and you get the usual OLED benefits: near-instant pixel response times, perfect blacks, infinite contrast, wide viewing angles and excellent color reproduction. You also get the usual drawback: the potential for permanent image retention or burn-in, although as with other modern OLEDs this is unlikely. If you vary the sort of content you use the TV with, and you keep the default safeguards engaged. If you're lucky enough to be working with a large budget, or no budget at all, the Sony A90J makes an excellent case for being the best 4K TV in the world. It only misses out on our top recommendation from some limitations in its gaming toolset and its high price. Number 3. Samsung QLED QN90A series. The QN95A and QN90A are Samsung's flagship 4K TVs for 2021, incorporating a new QLED Neo screen with mini LED backlighting. This allows for much better brightness and better full-array local dimming performance than previous models. As with previous QLED screens, the Neo screens are based around a VA panel which provides excellent contrast, reasonable viewing angles and truly impressive out-of-the-box color reproduction. Motion clarity and contrast aren't quite as good as an OLED, but these models can get far brighter than an OLED can and aren't vulnerable to burn-in either. HDR films and games look great here thanks to the color reproduction and high peak brightness, and there's support for HDR10, HDR10 Plus and HLG. For gaming, the QN90A has HDMI 2.1 support, including auto low latency mode and VRR, but sadly this is limited to only a single input, so you may wish to opt for the more expensive QN95A, available in the UK and Europe only, which uses the One Connect box with 4 HDMI 2.1 inputs. Alternatively, you could invest in an HDMI 2.1 receiver such as the if you'd like to keep multiple next-gen consoles or PCs connected. Input lag is low, at around 10 milliseconds at 60 Hz and 5 milliseconds at 120 Hz. The black frame insertion feature works up to 120 Hz to reduce motion blur, which can be great for fast-paced games. As well as HDMI 4M VRR, the QN90A and QN95A also support FreeSync and G-Sync technologies, so it'll work great with PCs with NVIDIA or AMD graphics cards. Number 4. Samsung QLED QN90A series. The Sony X90J is an excellent choice for next-gen gaming, with two HDMI 2.1 ports suitable for gaming at 4K 120 Hz on the PS5, Xbox Series X, and next-gen PC graphics cards. The X90J distinguishes itself with low input lag, excellent contrast, and strong color accuracy. As with other VA panels, viewing angles are relatively narrow, but peak brightness is more than respectable. As this isn't an OLED, there's no chance of burn-in. The X90J runs Google TV, which is responsive to navigate and boasts a deep app library. Very low input lag and two HDMI 2.1 ports. Great motion handling with fast response times. Impressive contrast ratio, 6200:1, and excellent brightness. Number 5. TCL 55 R635 Smart TV. The new TCL R635 is an excellent choice for 4K HDR gaming, thanks to its mini LED backlight, 120 Hz QLED panel and support for some HDMI 2.1 features, including variable refresh rate support from 48 to 120 Hz and auto low latency mode. These features make it a surprisingly future-proof choice given its low price, and it should support 1080p or 1440p 120 frames per second gameplay. In HDR on PS5 and Xbox Series X, input lag is low in the THX certified game mode too. Finally, contrast is excellent, as you'd hope from a VA-based panel. This TV's lower price point is only really evident in its viewing angles, which result in color shifts if you're sitting even slightly off-center. Motion handling is solid though, with the option for black frame insertion.